All the Time by Jessy Lanza. It is 10 songs, 38 minutes long. Jessy Lanza is a niche little Canadian artist that I really enjoy a lot. She's done stuff with Caribou, with Junior Boys before.
Electronic R&B.
Yeah, electronic R&B, experimental electronic. She does a lot of DJ sets that are some of my favorite DJ sets where she does like especially right now, during COVID, she's done a lot of like little bedroom DJ sets, and they're fantastic. Bam from We Made It podcast, shout out Bam, is a big Jessy Lanza fan, and the only other person I know that likes her because of Junior Boys and stuff too. So, anyways, the first album in a few years. I think I reviewed the single, maybe Look in Heaven or Face.
We definitely did Face at least a month or two ago.
Okay, we did Face. That's what it was. She also released Look in Heaven earlier this year. Those are her two singles, and then she released the full album. It starts off with Anyone Around, where it's like kind of a slower song that gets into the album. The production on it's really good. Also, Jeremy Greenspan of Junior Boys did produce this album, and you can really hear it throughout. I'll get to that in a little bit. Anyways, Anyone Around starts off slow, kind of like that filler beats here or there, and then you get down to Look in Heaven, which is, oh man.
Yeah, Look in Heaven definitely has some of that Junior Boys DNA, where it's like a standard beat with like a really nice electro synthesized bass line, and it's just
just the
tight,
drum.
like almost Danger Mouse kind of drums, where it's like punchy and
yes.
raw, but again, like it's electronic, so like punchy and raw electronic.
You can't stop spinning. So it is just like the nice thing with her voice is like, especially towards the end of the song, because it slows down and it sounds like it's ending, and then it goes back up and says spin and spin it, and she does this again. I very rarely hear it, but she does this effect where you can feel if you have headphones on, it sounds like it's going around you in circles and stuff, and it's such a cool effect. I really like it. You go after that, you go down to Face, which that straight up sounds like a Junior Boys song into it, where it sounds like a Big Black Coat style Junior Boys. I'm like, oh yes, please give me more inject into my veins. Really like Face. That's probably my favorite song on the album is Face.
I don't I dislike the bridge part, the oh yeah thing enough for me to not entirely dislike the song, but it's not my favorite.
I get that. It's like that's a niche thing. If
you like it or you don't.
Yeah, you exactly. That part you're either gonna love it or you don't. I really like it because I like how it gets into it, and then it goes and it gets into you have the really fast beats into it, and it
doesn't ruin the songs. That's fine.
No.
Yeah.
After
that, Badly is my favorite.
After that, you get to Badly, which holy shit, that's a really good. It just slows right down, but it's like the production of it. Some of my favorite production I've heard. Today is like a whole Sean day. I love it. My podcast too. That's one of some of my favorite experimental electronic production I've heard in a long time is on Badly, which just that to me is just one of Jessy Lanza's best songs, I think. It's just top to bottom, it's fantastic. You have the vocals in it are good. I think her vocals are a little more prevalent in this album than I've heard in albums past. I could be wrong in some of her early work because I don't remember some of her early work. But I remember her last album, it wasn't as prevalent as much. She has a really feminine voice into it, but I think it goes well within it.
And she's one of those artists who, in her mixing of her tracks, uses her voice as an instrument as well, which I really enjoy.
Which I enjoy, and she does that in Badly. It's very good. What do you like about Badly? Since you say it's your favorite.
I think it was really, if I were to describe this as an R&B categorized album, no one would really believe me, but I think Badly has the most R&B sort of undertones in it, where it's it doesn't feel that much like a song about love, although I'm sure it could be. But it actually makes a good use of something I've given Billie Eilish and others credit for, is using the absence of sound to help layer your song. And that's what a lot of Badly does, because there are a lot of millisecond moments where the song is kind of almost sounds empty, but there's just that emptiness allows the percussion to shine, or her voice to shine, or something else, where it's just you're muting everything else but one thing. And that really makes it it gives it a flavor to add it, to make it sound fun. It also sounds almost like a I wanted to create a cool term for this, but I can't yet. We'll probably listen to another album and it will sound similar to this. But it sounds like you are in a futuristic warehouse, and
I can
you're
see
moving
that because
along
it's
it's like a complicated conveyor belt, like Monsters Inc., but in the future and less scary. Where it just feels you're around and things are moving and working at their own every machine is working at its own beat, at its own pace, but it's all something that kind of comes together in an environment.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's so out of ordinary, but We can continue because
That's
there's
good.
some good songs.
You get
later.
to Alexander, which like it's a really slower song where it's like kind of that like you were talking about that R&B style. That to me is like that's what feels like more R&B to
Yeah, I
me
think
is
the middle
Alexander.
is
It's
where
like
really R&B is.
yeah, it gets into that where it slows it down and it's just like you get that funk beat groove. You want to slow dance to Alexander when you get to that part. And I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this because there's so many different genres into this album, but she's still making it cohesive, which is very hard to do. And I think that also speaks volumes to Jeremy's production on this album, where it's just you can easily if you miss layer the album or you misplace place songs on the album as well, you just can easily just be all over the place in it. But the way it starts off in it and it gets down to Alexander, it's fantastic in that regard.
Flows. It takes you on a journey. And it doesn't
Yes.
feel like that journey has any bumps on the road.
No, okay, and then it gets Ice Creamy, which then kind of has like that. It's still again, it's a little bit more slower, but now you have her more higher
Percussion
pitch.
driven as well.
Yeah, as I say, this one's more percussion driven into it, and it's more of that that style of R&B. Then you have the vocals are super high pitched in it, and it's, you can barely understand what she's saying, but it's more used as an instrument, as you were saying earlier. So I really liked Ice Creamy. It's funny, I listened to this album maybe 4 or 5 times. It took me a while to get into this album because there's so much to it. Because also I really like the beginning so much. Like the first 4 songs, I literally had on repeat the first time I was listening to them. I'm like, God, this is so good. And it took me a while to get into Alexander, Ice Creamy, and now like maybe a few days ago I was like, holy shit, okay, this is really good. You get after it gets to like Fire, which to me sounds like experimental Sade.
That's the it's experimental Sade, and that's
so
the
good.
my exact point about like, what was I calling it? Yeah, like being in a futuristic warehouse. Not in your way where it's like when you describe a warehouse, you're describing like the way the vocal.
No, I know what
I
know what you mean by your house. Yeah.
If each instrument is like a portion of the factory.
Yeah.
And it's all working together in harmony to create a product. In the future, I really secretly wanted to describe the movie Robots from DreamWorks from like 2007 because it sounds a lot like that aesthetic. But yes,
I really liked Fire. Baby Love gets more into like really layering into the song. You have like, especially by the end, you have like a synth beat going on, just a really easy drum beat. You have her voice going on. Then you got the little drums going on in the background. It's probably might be my least favorite on the one because I wouldn't say it doesn't feel uninspiring, but compared to the rest of it that's around it, I can kind of forget about it.
I think the album sort of lands very smoothly and quiet, and not quite understated, but definitely on an entirely different tone from the beginning, where it's not overstated, but it's very. There's a certain BPM that's pretty consistent. There's a certain energy that's pretty consistent, and that energy sort of like dies down and becomes a little bit more relaxing. If you're taking the typical R&B trope, there's like the meet cute, the falling in love, the sexual encounter, and then like the kind of come down from that. And this would be like the come down.
And then you get Over and Over right after that, which I
Before
really
that.
No, Over and Over. Over and Over is after Baby Love. Because Over and Over starts slow, and then by the middle it starts to pick up, and then you get more into it, and I really like that part of that song.
Yeah.
Because then you have that fast drums, and it's more of that kind of you get back up, and then it becomes more of the Jessy Lanza that I like a lot, where it's that more experimental stuff, more of Jeremy's production, exactly, and then all the time, it's just like it's I can't think of what Junior Boy song it reminds me of, but that one is just like. That ethereal kind of floating down in space style of song where it's just super slowed down, but it brings the album up to a wrap right after Over and Over. Because Over and Over, like, but the second part of Over and Over gets you back up and stuff.
Yeah.
But all the time, just like a gorgeous long track of just like slowing it down. You're like winding after a day or something, kind of like the R&B trope of just ending it down to a lull, but you're just chilling into it, and I really like it. I think this is a fantastic album. I really enjoyed it a lot. Shout out to Bam to tell me about Jessy Lanza years ago, like 2013 when I first met him, because I've heard obviously I listened to Caribou before. I listened to Junior Boys a little bit, heard some of their stuff like Dole to Pause. But then he told me about Jessy, and I was like, holy shit, because actually Caesar also went to a show with Bam from We Made Podcast. I saw Jessy Lanza live, and they're both
both of them can be found in the Political Report episodes that are in the podcast feed, and also the future plans that we have.
But anyways, this is again one of these female underground indie artists that are just incredible. She's fantastic, and I want her to get more recognition that she deserves. So, very, very good album. I recommend it to a lot of people. CEOs.
This one, Because I'm trying to think of like a cool underground like CEO that you would like enjoy. I'm gonna make a controversial statement. This is 2008 Elon Musk.
I can get on board with like the dawn of SpaceX Elon Musk.
The dawn of like Tesla's the good guys, Elon Musk.
Yes. Yeah. I could, the dawn of like when he had the idea of Tesla, but then stole like the car frame of Tesla and everything else. He did the Bill Gates. But it was the other idea of like, why don't we make electric cars look normal stuff?
Yeah.
I'm like, fair point.
Yeah, like Roadster.
Roadster, exactly.
Old school Roadster.
Old school Roadster. It's like, hey Lotus, I have an idea. Why don't I just use your chassis for it? Cool. Get set up. To me, this is Carrie Trainer, who's the CEO of SoundCloud, because SoundCloud's one of the only fucking apps right now that is like actually helping out artists when they need it.
Yeah, them and Bandcamp.
Them Bandcamp, like that's one of those things where I can get on board with a Carrie DJ set, because SoundCloud's where I get all my underground shit. Like you have Strictly Vinyl, Junior Boy's DJ set. That's like one of my favorite house mixes I've heard of, especially the beginning, like the first 15 minutes is incredible.
That is still a episode you need to do.
We need to do whenever we have the damn time.
Yeah, at least we have ideas.
Ideas.